The next piece, number 4, is a market analysis. Didn't we just do that? No, we just did an industry analysis and we talked about some aspects of the market. Suppliers, competitors, and customers are parts of the market. But a market analysis is the market for our stuff. Assuming that the business opportunity exists and it comes into this industry, what happens when we release the iPhone? Here's the iPhone. We're going to release it into the market. What does that do? That's the analysis you have to perform. You have to say, here is my new product. How many people are going to buy it in the first year? And how many people are going to buy it in the second year? And so forth. And who are these people? Well, they're crazy tech nerds, of course. Okay, well that's good. We know what they are. How many crazy tech nerds are there? Well, it turns out there's a couple of million. Maybe 20 or 30 million. And not all of them are going to be buying the first year. Does anyone know what the life cycle of a business product looks like? It looks like this. And these people who buy the first few things are called innovators. These are the people who will go out in 1973 and buy a pocket calculator because it costs $1,500. Let me say that again, because it costs $1,500. Not in spite of the fact that it costs $1,500, but because of that. These are the crazy people who want the latest gadget because it is so cool to have the latest gadget. And it's a status thing, and they talk to each other, and they have little, forum, Facebook groups, and they always talk about
any of these people you're talking
the niftiest stuff. And they are like 0.1%. They are a very tiny fragment of the whole population who will ever buy your product. The next group of people are called early adopters. Innovators and then early adopters. And they might represent 5 to 10% of your total market. Early adopters are followers of the innovators. They are friends of the innovators. There's an innovator that they know who's always buying the latest iPad, the latest iPhone, the latest this or that. And they don't ever buy when it first comes out. But they watch those people and they say, oh, hey, how is that? Was that a good idea? And after about 6 months to a year, these people buy. Then you have the mainstream, which is about 50% of your whole market. The mainstream watches the early adopters. The mainstream doesn't want to be bothered with new stuff. They like things the way they are until they find out that they can do so much more with this new thing. And the early adopters tell them how great it is, and so they buy it. And the mainstream is going to be the bulk of your whole market. 50%, it might even be 60%. And then finally, the late adopters. They never buy anything until everyone else they know has told them it's okay. It's comfortable. These people hate innovation. They hate change. And they will buy something like a house because everybody has a house. But they're very, very skeptical about two-story houses. And they're the rest of the market. If this is 10%, then they're about 40%. If this is 5%, then they're about 45%. So that's your market. And what this represents here is the number of sales over time. So this is volume of sales, V, and this is time, T. And as time goes by, things go up to a certain level and then they flatline. So, and this might be 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 10 years, or it might be 3 months, 6 months, a year. And then the market's done. The market has reached its peak. And if your market research shows that your peak customer volume per year is 10, you need another business. So in a marketing plan, who are the most important customers?
Innovators.
Who are the most important customers?
Early adopters.
None of those groups, no. the customers who have already bought from you are the most important customers. Repeat business is the most important part of your business. Because if you have sold something to someone one time, he is 50-50 likely to buy from you again. And if you have sold to him twice, it's about 85% likely that he'll buy from you a third time. And if you've sold things to him 3 times, it's about 95 to 99% likely he will buy from you again. You have convinced him, by the time you have sold him 3 things, that he wants to buy from you. So the most important thing in your business is information about who is your customer, who has come back. So this is an overview issue. The business opportunity is an overview of what are we doing and why does it make money. The industry analysis is an analytical overview of the whole business. The market analysis is how do we fit into that, how do we take advantage of the existing industry, and what's the market for our actual stuff. The marketing plan is the next piece, and it basically follows out of these 2 things. This tells you how to market. Now, what are the elements of a marketing plan? Publicity. Always do things that don't cost money. Publicity hardly ever costs any money at all. You write a letter to the editor announcing that you're doing something. They send a reporter out. Suddenly you have a newspaper article about what you're doing. Okay, that's old hat. But the same thing applies with blogs even more. You tell 100 people on different blogs about what you're doing, and suddenly there's a whole conversation about the fact that you're doing it. What are the other things you can do? Advertising. You can do promotion. You can do what? Is there another P? You can work on the price of your thing. Underprice your competition. If everyone is selling an ounce of marijuana for $400, you can sell an ounce for $399. Maybe they'll go for that. I don't know. They're high. So publicity, promotion, price. You can work on your product. Maybe you do need to have a cocky version of Levi's. Maybe you need to have, 47 different types of marijuana. So publicity, advertising. What kind of advertising is the most effective? Anyone?
Free advertising?
Free advertising.
Referrals. Word of mouth.
Word of mouth. Yeah. And that's why your repeat customers are your best friends. Because not only will they come back to you and buy a second and third and fourth time, but they will tell their friends what a great thing it is that you're doing. Why your pot is the highest, or whatever it is that they say. Why your mobile oil service is the most rapid, They came out and changed my oil and it took 30 minutes and I was able to go to lunch even though they had just shown up. Whatever. Word of mouth advertising is the most cost effective because it doesn't cost you anything. It's also the most dangerous because you have absolutely no control over what other people will say about you. You can screw up and they will say bad things about you. But you can also do a really great job and they'll say bad things about you because they're dicks. And there's no way of telling. So you do a good job anyway and hope they're not dicks. Spending money on advertising is always very risky. It used to be that there was a standard place that everyone put an ad, and you only had to do this once a year, and it always worked. And it was called the Yellow Pages. And then about 1996, 1997, assholes like me started developing web pages for everybody, and it suddenly became entirely pointless to put an ad in the Yellow Pages. So when you're spending money on advertising, you always have to watch to make sure that you're getting anything out of it.
That's why you have analytics for websites.
That's right. Promotion. What's a promotion?
You have a sale. Buy one,
A sale is a typical promotion. Buy one, get one half off.
About crack. First it's free.
The first sample of crack is free. That's right. That's promotional. You can also do cooperative marketing. You do mobile oil service, and maybe there's a mobile tire service. And so you talk to a guy who does mobile tire service, and he hands out a coupon whenever he does a tire change. He hands the guy a coupon for the mobile oil service. Hey, you might need this later. Obviously, you have a vehicle, so it applies to you. Obviously, we talked about price. You can have a sale, or you can undercut your competitors. You can make innovations to your product, change the color of your product. You can change your pattern of distribution in order to do more marketing. So what is the distribution channel for personal computers? Where do people get personal computers?
Amazon.com.
Amazon.com is huge. And eBay is fairly large. What are the channels of distribution? You could sell things in a storefront. You could sell things on the web. You can sell things through a catalog.
Use an intermediary between
You can sell to a wholesaler. You sell your stuff to a wholesaler, he sells it to a jobber, the jobber sells it to a retailer. Alright, so after you've decided how you're going to market your product, the next thing is to decide how you're going to operate your business. A business plan that actually talks about operating your business, that's astounding. How would you operate your micro farming business? What would you need to plan for? You're farming, right?
equipment, lands.
So what's the element for farming? Is the seasons, right? You have to know when to plant, know when to harvest. So in general, when you do an operating plan, you need to decide what activities have to happen during a typical business day. Every hour has to be listed, and you have to decide who's doing what. Then you have to look at every day. What's different about a Monday than a Saturday? Maybe nothing. Maybe Sundays were open, maybe Sundays were closed. You have to figure that out. Every week of a month. The first week of the month we do certain things, second week of the month we do certain things. Is there any difference? Maybe every week is the same, so there's not much to say here. Every month of a quarter, the first month of the quarter, the second month, the third month, how are they different? Is there anything that changes? Is there anything that changes from quarter to quarter, and is there anything that changes from year to year? Those are the things that you have to say in an operating plan. You have to then do an analysis of how many people are involved in doing all this stuff. And that tells you what your staffing plan is, and your staffing plan tells you how much money you're spending. And that gets you to the next piece of the plan, which is the financing. Because once you know how much money you're spending, you have to figure that you have to raise enough money to be in business for 6 months to a year without any revenues. Not without any profits. Without any revenues. Because nobody knows you exist. It takes 6 months to a year to penetrate the markets, understanding that you're out there. And if you can't survive without 6 months of no sales, then maybe you shouldn't be in this business. Maybe you don't have enough money. Maybe you should raise some money with the business plan. What about a financing plan? What happens in financing? How do you finance things? What are the basic elements of finance? Anybody? Equity? Right. Debt? Do these words mean anything to you? Mm-hmm. Equity is shares of stock in your company. It's the way corporations have been traditionally financed since, the 17th century. I think the first joint stock corporation that still exists was the Dutch East India Company. And what is an equity consideration? It's the question of whether it's equitable to the shareholders that management did this, or that the board of directors decided that policy. So if they have a policy that is not equitable, that one or two shareholders get the special privilege and nobody else can, that's not equitable. And very often the courts will rule against that. That's usually where management tries to feather their own nest and everybody else gets screwed, which is what management seems to like to do in big corporations. The other kind of financing is debt, and that's where you borrow money. And who can you borrow money from?
Anybody and everybody.
Anybody. Friends, family. That's usually a bad idea. Banks.